What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Disc Golf Nerd Plastic Podcast. I wanted to do another question and answer episode, check in with you guys, see what's going on, and answer some more questions from my 4,000 subscribers giveaway contest. Had you guys submit a bunch of great questions, and it's been fun working my way through them. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the last episode with Danny Lindahl. I had a lot of fun talking to Danny. Hopefully I can continue to work with him in the future. I believe he's playing the Ledgestone Insurance Open right now. Maybe after he's done with that, I don't know if he has any plans to play any other tournaments. There's a bunch of tournaments going on in the next little while, and I'm not really sure what his plans are, but maybe I'll be able to sneak in some time to collaborate with him on some more content for you guys, because I had fun doing that. Let's see, what else should I tell you guys about? The next batch of Disc Golf Nerd stamped custom discs are on the way. They will be here in a few days. Tomorrow's Thursday, and they're supposed to be here Friday. So I have a couple of pre-orders already in. I'm not exactly sure when I'll post this, actually. This will probably won't be posted until tomorrow afternoon, unless I stay up late and edit it together. New run coming on Friday. I have 10 judges, prime judges, 10 prime wardens, opto compasses, which I'm stoked about. Probably one of my favorite discs on the market, and I can't wait to see those. I'm going to keep a couple for myself, and I'll have a few for sale. I have Biofusion EMAC Truths this time, since they were out of Lucid, and I want to switch it up anyway. And I also got medium harps. People love the harp. It's a great, consistent approach disc. You know exactly what it's going to do when you pull it out of the bag. So, yeah, I was happy to get some Westside plastic stamped up. That's one of the benefits of ordering from Dynamic Discs. I've had a couple people give me some grief about the fact that I'm not ordering from American companies with my custom stamped discs, but as far as I'm concerned, Dynamic Discs is an American company. They're a small, more or less family-run American company out there in Emporia, and just because they don't manufacture the plastic in the USA doesn't mean Dynamic isn't an American company that I'm working with. Also, I have no problem with Sweden whatsoever. I'm not very terribly nationalistic. It's not like I'm ordering discs that are made in China or something. I'm ordering extremely high-quality discs that are made in Sweden and made very well, and they're great flying discs that I love and throw many of myself. A lot of the people in the disc golf community love them. A lot of the best players in the world are throwing those discs at this point, including the number one player in men's disc golf and women's disc golf are both playing with the same discs that I'm ordering. They're great stuff. And also, Dynamic Discs supports me. They're a sponsor here on my channel. They send me plastic to test and review. Innova does not do that. Disccraft has sent me one disc, or a couple of discs, I think. They sent me a couple magnets for my 100th disc review. That was awesome. I appreciated that, but it's not like I'm working with them on a consistent basis. So there's just many factors that go into it. And also, ordering from Dynamic, I can order many different molds from 3 different companies. I can order a bunch of different stuff from Latitude, Dynamic, and Westside. So there's a ton of different stuff that's available for me to order. And yeah, I just think it makes all the sense in the world. Also, in terms of at least Disccraft, and I believe Innova, the minimum is 100 discs. And that's a lot. So for my first order, that would have been a ton of plastic to have around, and so I only have to order 50 from Dynamic Discs, which is what I did this time. I ordered like 54 the first time, and then this time I ordered just 50 straight up, and it's been great. They did a great job. I think they came out beautiful, and it's all good there. So if I am not ordering Innova and Disccraft and that makes you upset, I'm sorry. It's something that will probably happen in the future. But we'll see. I'm honestly really not opposed to continuing to have Disc Golf Nerd stamped discs from the Trilogy brands. I think they make great plastic and has a ton of different options available. So enough rambling about that. If you guys are interested in those discs, get in touch with me. Disccraft and Innova at gmail.com is my email address. Feel free to hit me up with whatever on my email address. If you guys just want to ask me a question or whatever, or say, hey, I'm not going to stop you from doing that. You're always welcome to do so. Also, personal messages on Facebook are probably the easiest way. I will definitely be posting a full video, like another mail call and letting you guys know what exactly I got in stock. You can take a look, and I'll be doing the same thing, just taking PayPal and going from there. So let's see if there's anything else I need to tell you guys about. Keeping the ball rolling. I still got a bunch of plastic to test and review in the queue right now. A whole bunch of stuff. I'm basically going to try to stick with posting reviews every Friday. Fresh Plastic Friday is what I'm calling it, and that's how I'm going to roll from now on. So expect a disc review early Friday morning, probably 8 a.m., 9 a.m., whenever I get up on Friday mornings. That's how I'm going to keep the ball rolling for a while with the reviews, and I will sprinkle in podcasts and other random videos in the middle there just whenever I feel like posting them. But yeah, it should be a relatively consistent thing. I think that'll be cool going forward to just make sure that more or less I'm going to try to keep the ball rolling to the point where every single Friday I post a new disc review. So let's get into some more questions from you guys, and we start with James Taylor. Big fan of your music, by the way, James. I'm sure you get that a lot. When you throw forehand, do you keep your elbow close to your body or not? I've been watching different videos, and some say you should. Some say that's wrong. I'm kind of confused. I just started a few months ago and trying to get the right information. Thanks a lot for everything that you do. Thanks to you, James, for watching the videos. I am not the kind of person you want to talk to about forehands. My forehand is a strictly emergency situation. If I have nothing else, I will throw a forehand. It's pretty rare. I feel much more confident and comfortable throwing a forehand with an Anheuser release for whatever reason. It just works easier for my arm, my body that way, and I can actually put a little bit of energy on that kind of a throw, and I do keep my elbow tucked close to your body. I believe that forehand is a little bit different from backhand in, I think different players are able to use it effectively in different ways. I know Mark Ellis, who was a old school Disccraft pro. He was the one that did a lot of the Disccraft clinic videos way back in the day that I was interested in, really helped me out starting years ago. And I know that he would keep his elbow way out, and he was a really solid forehand player. But I think for the most part, most pros that are proficient with a forehand will keep their elbow somewhat close to their body. As far as sidearm or forehand form for you to try to check out, I would recommend Nate Sexton, Jeremy Coling, Ricky Wysocki. If you watch their form throwing forehands and kind of emulate that, I think that'll put you in a good position. They really do extremely well, and I'm sure that at least a few of those guys have some tips and tricks, clinics or something like that available on YouTube that you can search out. So yeah, look for Ricky, Nate Sexton, Jeremy Coling, lots of other great forehand throwers out there. Paul Macbeth has a solid forehand, but he's somewhat less known for it, and he doesn't really break it out unless the shot really dictates. But yeah, definitely check out those guys and see if you can mirror their form. And also, shout out to, I mentioned him earlier, Danny Lindahl. He is more of the form technique guru here on YouTube, and I recommend checking out his videos. He probably has something on that. Blake Barnes asks, do you have any pre-tournament rituals or superstitions? Well, I'm not really much of a tournament player. I've only played a couple of casual events. As far as pre-round rituals, superstitions, not really. I'm not really a superstitious or ritualistic type of guy so much at all. A couple of things that I like to do is I definitely like to do high fives on hole 18 before you tee off. Good round, that kind of thing. That's kind of a small ritual, disc golf ritual that I have. I try to keep that in mind to just kind of throw out some high fives and thank everybody for playing around together and all that kind of stuff if I'm lucky enough to have some folks to play with. But as far as things I do pre-round, pre-tournament, I'm just trying to stretch and get as warm as I possibly can get. Make sure I'm stretching out my body, trying to get my arm, my shoulder loosened up. Definitely a lot of hip stretches, lower back, upper back stretches, and I'll also stretch my hamstrings and all that kind of stuff as much as I much as I can. It's tough to stay disciplined with that and really stick to it, but it's something that I do try to do. Chris Reese asks, what's your putting routine? So I kind of line up, I mentioned this on the last episode, I line up very similar to Paul Macbeth, and I kind of picture him in my head. For some reason, he's just got that iconic putting style. I stopped short of doing the little foot dig that he does on his back foot where he twists it and digs it into the ground to make sure he's got a solid contact. I will kind of adjust my foot until it feels solid and I feel balanced, but I don't do the little twist dig that he does. I try to stop. I don't want to completely rip him off, but for some reason it does work well for me to try to line up like him, and I try to mirror his form as well. One thing I'll do to set up my putting routine as well is I will lean forward and kind of reach my arms straight out to kind of know where I want to end up with everything, and then I will mostly keep my weight on my back foot, hold the disc out in front of me very similar to the way Paul does, bring it down slow, and then come forward with my weight on the putt. But I don't have like a flip or any kind of like a nervous tick that I do. Like Ricky does the thing where he'll like blow on his fingers and then I'll like wipe his like pants and over again and that sort of thing. Like I don't have any of those like kind of nervous ticks that I do per se. I just kind of try to stand there and make sure that the grip feels good and focus in on the basket. But I do have that little reach out, and then I have a similar way. I stand there, and I'll usually vary it slightly until I feel like I'm confident and I'm ready to release the putt. Let's see. Still rolling. I like to click over to Audacity, make sure I'm still recording. Sean Peterson says, what superheroes do you think would be the top 3 disc golfers? This is a tough question, and I've actually kind of glanced through this question a couple times, and I'm not really sure where to go with it. There's lots of different angles you could take it. I would have to say Captain America, just because he obviously throws his shield around basically like a disc already. So, I mean, he would have to be able to throw a disc pretty well as well. So I think it's pretty natural that DD has the Captain America shield Dimax that you can get. So I think he's a pretty obvious choice. For the rest of them, it's hard to say. I know, like, Hawkeye, who's another Avenger, is extremely accurate with a bow and arrow. I don't know if that would translate to throwing a disc, but I believe his kind of superpower is that innate accuracy in everything that he does. So you'd have to, if I am correct in that, I would think he would be a good option. And then I don't know after that. I thought of some silly ones like Magneto could kind of move the chains as the disc is flying towards them to kind of spread out or whatever and grab the disc if it's a little bit left or right, so he might be a good option. Or just flat out kind of bend the basket to grab the disc, but I think that's kind of cheating. So I'm really not sure who I'd go with on the third one. Maybe just like Spider-Man or somebody like that. He's obviously extremely coordinated, he's fast, and I think he could probably throw the disc quite well. Chris Jensen, how do plastic types affect stability? Well, that one's hard to say across the board because it definitely varies from manufacturer to manufacturer, but it seems to me that Champion, Z, Optoplastic tends to be a little bit more stable than Goldline, ESP, Star Plastic in general. It's really hard to say, though. I also feel like a lot of the times the more premium plastic has a little bit more stability than the baseline stuff, but that's not necessarily the case all the time, especially based on my evidence and my experience with the Prime plastic. The Prime Trespass was very overstable when I first got it. So that's really hard to say. Across the board, I think it also kind of varies on molds and stuff like that and runs, and there's so many different things that go into that. It's kind of a hard question to answer across the board like that. Adam McKinney says, how did you get into the sport and what's the best disc in your bag? I basically answered this question already, but my buddy brought me out to play my first round of disc golf shortly after I moved to Oregon at Dabney State Park. It was just an excuse to take me out to the Columbia Gorge and just do some throwing and get out and about and have him show me something that he was interested in, something that he was doing in the time that he was here before I moved out to Oregon, because I knew him from New York. He's an old friend, and after I moved here, he came and picked us up and kind of showed us around a little bit that day, and disc golf was part of that experience. Best disc in my bag? Man, that's hard to say. It would probably be my black with the yellow, or my yellow with the black kind of tiger stripe pre-Sweden Trespass that's been in my last few in the bags. I've had that thing for years, basically since DD started making discs. I got that at the Beaver State Fling that year, and it's been in my bag ever since. It's just a great disc. I love that thing, and I have several other pre-Swedens kind of as backups in case I ever lose that thing. But I really, really like it, and I make sure that I have the Air Trespass and the Prime Trespass in the bag, and I will throw either one of those if it's a risky situation, because I don't want to risk losing my yellow go-to pre-Sweden. I love that thing it's just got a great blend of consistent flights, good distance, and I just know what it's going to do, and it's basically stayed exactly the same the whole time I've had it. So I really like that disc, and it's hard to say though. I'm quite fond of my main putter, my purple Jawbreaker. I'm quite happy with that disc. I have a great pre-World Champ Opto Compass in the bag. That's just like a stock opaque Opto that flies great. I'm really infatuated with the Fury and the Gobi right now. I'm throwing those a ton. I have lots of great discs that I love, but I would probably have to say my pre-Sweden Trespass is my favorite. All right. Xander Zaretsit has a number of questions here in a large paragraph kind of question from Xander. He's a great supporter of my channel. He's always got great things to say, and is always helping support me and watch the videos and comments and all that kind of stuff. So let's work through what Xander has to say. Congratulations, Nerd. 4,000 is a great achievement. I'm sure I'll be here for your 10,000 subscribers as well, sir. Thank you, Xander. I appreciate that. The more I play, the more questions I think of. It's the answers that become more complex. All right, so first question. What do you still find such passion for the sport? Or why do you still find such passion for the sport? I don't know. I just still dig it. It's just still really fun to play and to watch, and this channel continues to grow, and it keeps me interested in the new plastic that's coming out, and I just still dig it. I just still feel the way I did when I really started to get into it. I'm just still really infatuated with the flight of a disc and hitting the line exactly the way I'm trying to, and all that kind of stuff. Just maintains a lot of fun for me. It's just really interesting that I can continue to basically just do the same thing over and over again, throw my discs, but trying to dial in the lines and have everything as consistent as it can be. Maintains challenge, and it's very rewarding to do it well, and I just love it. It's a great game, and it's really fun to be a part of watching it grow and to be right alongside it. My channel grows with the sport. I like to think that some of the stuff I've done on the channel has, in some small way, helped to grow the sport. We'll see where it goes, but that's pretty much it. I just still dig it. It's great stuff. How much does it help to have a significant other who supports your enthusiasm? It definitely helps. My wife lets me ramble to her about disc golf whenever I really need to, and kind of talk to her about my plans for the channel, and she was very helpful in getting my whole first run of discs dealt with, and kept it organized, and helped me do spreadsheets and stuff like that to make sure everybody got the right disc, and that all the money was accounted for, so that I could make sure I can keep the ball rolling, and make enough money back to have a little bit extra to support the effort here, and be able to keep shipping out giveaways and all that kind of stuff. and also first and foremost make the money back so that I can put in another order, which I did. So yeah, she's always great. She's always taking me out to the course when I need to practice or do field testing. I'll text her and say, hey, before you pick me up from work, will you bring me this disc out of the stack because I need to test it at the park on the way home or whatever. She's always there for that, so it definitely is helpful. She doesn't throw, and she's not into that at all, but she's more than fine with going out to the course and doing her thing, reading a book in the shade or whatever while I go throw, and she's always down to help me out if I need it. When is the right time to change your game as opposed to sticking to a particular style? I mean, that's difficult for me to answer in terms of without knowing any more specifics. I'm not really sure how to answer that particular one. If you feel like what you're doing has plateaued and you need to break out of that, that's what you need to do. If you feel like you just need to be consistent, and like if you feel like at your best you can play well, given your current form and your current kind of approach to everything, but you're just not consistent enough to do it all the time, then you might want to just stick with it and keep practicing and working with it. All right, next question. Where can you imagine the sport leading based on its current level of growth? I think the sky's the limit for disc golf. I think it can get just as big as traditional golf if it wants to, and we keep doing the right things. I think we'll get there. People like to try to feel like we should already be there for some reason, even though professional golf has been around for way longer than we have. And the game of golf itself has been around for hundreds of years. I mean, I think the kind of estimates that I was looking at place the origins of traditional golf into the 1600s. So, I mean, if we give us a couple hundred years at the pace we're going now and see where we're at, so I think we can go as far as we want to go. I think we're doing a lot of the right things. I think the Disc Golf Pro Tour has a lot of the right ideas in mind, and I think we're on a good path right now. And just keep the ball rolling. The outside sponsors will eventually notice us, and we'll go farther. But honestly, if it stayed basically exactly where it is now, I wouldn't be too upset by that personally. But I'm also not at a level where I could, be a professional at it and make my living by just going out and throwing. So, I would love to see our top players be able to make a legit living, and they deserve to, because they're amazing. They put the effort in, and they're just as real and talented as any other athlete out there. They put just as much work in, and I don't necessarily feel like any athlete should be getting paid what the guys in the NFL or the NBA are getting paid. I think that whole thing is a little bit silly, but I'd love to see our top players make a living, and I think they'll get there relatively soon, honestly. Is there much to gain by investing in collector disc releases? Sure. I mean, if you want to, discs definitely go up in value. Like, there's no doubt about that. I mean, if you get something that's relatively special edition or whatever, and you hold on to it in pristine shape, it's going to go up in value to some degree. It's hard to say exactly how much that's going to be, but it's not going to go down in value, I wouldn't think. Discs are worth what they're worth. I mean, if a brand new stock champion disc is $14, if you have one that's a special edition and it's 5-10 years old and it's in brand new condition, it's going to be at least worth more than a brand new disc. So I don't think there's anywhere to really go wrong with that per se. It's just a matter of whether or not that's what you're into. Besides becoming a socially visible pro or a YouTube sensation, is there still someplace to leave your mark in the disc golf community? I don't know if that me personally. I mean, there's tons of different ways for everybody to leave your mark in the disc golf community. For me personally, I kind of just feel like I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I could see myself eventually getting to be more of a player, rather than the kind of like small, media, I guess, kind of entity that I am now. But really, I like being a fan of the game. I like throwing discs, and I like doing my YouTube channel the way I do it. We'll see where it goes, and I'm just going to keep showing up and see what happens, but I'm not looking for anything too big and grand. I would love eventually to be able to make a living in some type of disc golf capacity, whether that's selling plastic or something along those lines. That would be cool. I think I would dig that. And that's kind of something that I'm hoping to build towards eventually, is to have some type of professional role in the game of disc golf in some respect, but I don't really know if that's ever going to be a thing that happens or not. But yeah, as far as everybody else, there's countless ways you can leave your mark in the disc golf community. It's just a matter of what you want to try to do. And then he says, I know I tend to ramble, but when you have an average of 4 to 6 miles to walk each round, your mind tends to wander. To all the supporters, I say thank you, Mr. Disc Golf Nerd. You're a gentleman, scholar. Brilliant job, sir. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Xander. I appreciate your continued support of the channel. Keep watching the videos. I'll keep making them. Jonathan Schaefer, what is your personal opinion of the Trilogy Challenge discs of 2017? Good question. I've only tested so far the Deputy, although I do have all 3 Trilogy Challenge discs in my testing queue right now. I'll probably be reviewing the Deputy first, just because it's the one that I'm most interested in. So far, it seems like a really straight flying disc. Definitely something that has quite a bit of flip to it as well. So if you want to throw like a late flip, it seems great for that. And a very kind of understable, broken in, straight out of the box kind of flight path inside the circle and out. But I really just started testing it. I carried it for 1 round. I threw it a few times, so I really can't speak on it much. But look for my full reviews on all 3 of those discs coming out soon. Big thank you to Chris Caulfield for sending me those. I guess I never did a mail call for that last shipment. He sent me another box of plastic. I might have to make that happen soon. I totally forgot about that. Dying to Self Daily says, you can only play with 1 disc for the rest of your life. Which would it be? Damn, I don't know. That's way too hard to say. Man, as it stands right now, 1 disc forever. I'd probably go mid-range, just because some kind of mid-range, maybe a compass, maybe the Gobi right now, but I don't know if that has... I don't know. That would be awful. I mean, that would just be terrible, because part of the fun of disc golf is throwing all the different discs, and yeah, obviously I'm never going to actually be restricted to 1 disc forever, but if I had to pick, I would probably go with a mid-range, just because just throwing a putter would not be very fun, just based on the fact that I can't get it out as far as I can a mid-range or a driver, but I definitely wouldn't pick a driver, because putting with a driver all the time would drive me crazy. So yeah, it would be some kind of mid-range, maybe a compass. If I had to pick out of discs that I currently throw right now, probably be a compass or a Gobi, honestly. The Gobi's been flying great for me. Michael Russo, how did you get into disc golf? I already answered that a little while ago. Mr. Stocks, do you prefer a hard or soft putter? I like soft magnets quite a bit. I've never been a fan of the really kind of stiff, rigid plastic, like a classic hard or like a KC Pro or something like that. That's not my style. Right now I'm using the Jawbreaker magnets, which are somewhere in between. They're almost like maybe like a blend type feel from like Dynamic Discs or Latitude. Somewhere in the middle there. It's working out really well for me. It has a nice enough grip to it that it feels comfortable in the hand, but it's not so floppy that I can't release it relatively consistently. Jawbreakers also seem to catch quite well. I don't have a lot of spit outs with them so far. Lucas Williams, how did you start disc golf reviews on YouTube? Oh, good question. How did I start doing that? I think my first one was the Buzz SS, and shout out to another YouTuber. This one might come out of left field. I'm sure some of you guys know about this guy, but there's a dude named Nuttin' Fancy. He's probably a polarizing figure in the community if you know about him. He does gun reviews and knife reviews, backpacking equipment, flashlights, all that kind of stuff. And he also does a ton of like philosophy videos and opinion pieces and all that kind of stuff. I was a big fan of him for a while, and I really like his tabletop reviewing style. And I kind of just decided to try to do it for disc golf. I wonder, actually, let me know in the comments if any of you guys have ever thought if I might have been influenced by somebody like him, because I was. that's kind of why I like to do my reviews the way I do them. I like that tabletop conversational style, because with his reviews for a while when I was into him, and I'm not even like a big gun guy or anything. I do like knives. I carry a pocket knife with me all the time, but I'm not like a collector. You know, I have a nice camping knife that I use and that sort of thing, a couple of user blades. But I got into his videos because I liked listening to him talk for whatever reason, and I put him on and I listened to him while I'm like doing chores and stuff like that. This is kind of pre-podcast for me. He was definitely an influence, and I think the first review was either the Buzz SS or the Blizzard Champion Wraith, and I think it was the Buzz SS though, and it was just I got it. I was testing it. I wasn't going to keep it, and I was just like, hey, I'm going to post a quick review and let people know what I think of this disc, just basically because I'd seen Nothing Fancy do a bunch of different reviews, and I thought it would be cool to do it for disc golf. That's pretty much exactly how it started, if I'm honest. Here I am, still doing it, I guess. I'm sure he is too. I haven't watched any of his content in a while. Every once in a while I'll click over to see if there's anything interesting in there that I want to check out, but I've kind of gotten away from his stuff, but I still have a lot of respect for him. You know, he won't really even let people, for a while at least, I don't know if he's still like this, but he wouldn't let people send him stuff. He would buy everything out of his own money so that he could test it completely objectively, and I don't even, you know, I obviously take stuff from people to review and all that kind of stuff, so yeah, he's a pretty interesting guy, and he definitely does serious testing and brings a ton of experience and data to the table, which I respect. I'm just gonna spell this one out. It's DUHAIMEJS. I'm sorry, I don't even know how to begin to pronounce that. I apologize. How does it feel to hit 4,000 subscribers? Well, it's kind of surreal. I guess you could say that maybe I should grow subscribers faster than I do. I've been doing this channel forever. Like Danny's been doing his channel for a very short period of time. He has more subs than I have. But really, I mean, the fact that I have any amount of subscribers in the thousands blows my mind to think about it. I just recently came across the video of my first ever giveaway. It was kind of interesting. It was my first ever giveaway. It was when I hit 100 subs, I think. Was it 100 subs? It might have even been like 10. Must have been 100. Yeah, it was 100 subs. I had people do a video response, which is an old school YouTube thing. I don't even think that's a thing anymore. Telling me something about disc golf or why they like disc golf or something like that. I think 4 people entered. I had a soft magnet that I bought at Disc Golf Depot to give away, and I ended up, since only 4 people entered, I ended up taking a disc out of my bag, and then I went and bought a couple other. I think I got some used, lightly used plastic or other discs I had laying around. I ended up giving a disc to everybody who entered to the contest. But yeah, it's always surreal to see that people continue to subscribe and the channel continues to grow. And then little milestones like being on Smashbox and getting a email from Steve Dodge and getting contacted by Bobby from DD and all that kind of stuff is really surreal, and it's awesome. It's great. It's blows my mind when I really think about it. Sorry I couldn't pronounce your username. I apologize for that. Thanks for the question. Tuck Force 1, what's up, Dave? Says, so happy for you, brother. You deserve it. Thanks for all you do for our sport. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate the support. Shout out to Big Daddy Disc Golf. Check him out on Facebook. The Big Daddy Disc Golf group is great. Bunch of really supportive, kind-hearted individuals that are really, really just prop each other up and are there for you if you need somebody. Whether you're trying to lose weight or just trying to get better, just be happier or improve yourself in any way, you're more than welcome to come join the group over there, Big Daddy. I definitely recommend that you do. I reached out to the Big Daddy Disc Golf group, and that's how I hooked up with Anthony from the Heiser Project, who made my logo, and just a bunch of really great guys over there. I had a great time being on their podcast as well. Dave's doing his thing with his reviews and stuff with his pop. Yeah, shout out to all those guys. I appreciate their support. Jeremy Jones, what speed driver should I use as a beginner? When you're just starting out, brand new beginner, you haven't even thrown it all yet, don't even get a driver. If you get like a like a 3-pack, beginner set or whatever. That's not a bad idea, but you could really be just as fine just getting a mid-range and a putter. But if you're going to start out trying to throw a driver, some people have a natural feel for it. You can kind of throw a driver relatively early on and get decent results out of it if you have kind of a natural arm. Or I would go something understable and slow. Maybe like a Leopard. The Disccraft Archer is nice, slow, straight flying driver, but I definitely recommend putters and mid-ranges. Understable to just straight flying discs is what you should start out with. And then as you build more speed and you're throwing a little bit farther, and you have your kind of basics of your form down, you're able to throw the disc on the line that you want without a lot of wobble or weird angles and stuff. Then step it up to a driver. The problem with starting with a driver, and I need to make a separate video about this, and it's going to happen relatively soon, but I recommend starting with mid-ranges and putters so often, but I do tell you guys why, but I kind of wanted to break it out into its own video, just why. One of the main reasons why starting with a driver is not a great idea is because, especially if it's a stable to overstable type driver, it will mask issues with your form. You can throw it and put wobble on it and still going to want to come back and go to the left, so you can still kind of figure that out and adjust for that and get decent results, all the while hampering your own ability to throw the disc. So if you start out with a putter or mid-range that's a straight flyer, it's not going to let you do that. It's not going to let you crank it over to the right and then have it fight out back to the left and get you distance. You're going to have to throw it flat and straight, or even on a little hyzer and let it pop up and go straight. And so starting with drivers can just really mask a lot of issues with your form and kind of let you start in the wrong way and then kind of get locked into just poor form that you're going to have to adjust and fix after the fact, which is just not ideal. So I think you're much better off starting with a mid-range or a putter. But in terms of a speed of driver, when you're starting to get into drivers, start slow, 8 or 9 speeds, maybe a 7 speed like a Leopard, something along those lines, and then go from there. What was the last breakthrough you had with your own game? From Lance Stoles. Last breakthrough I had with my own game, let's see, probably just dialing in my putting routine. We talked about my putting routine earlier, and I just relatively recently finally got it dialed in to the point where I'm doing it consistently, and my putting has been really good. And I don't know if it's just the routine or the jawbreaker magnets are working really well with my form, or what the case is, but for the most part I've been putting quite well. Had a relatively off putting round the last time I played, but I also just didn't quite get inside the circle. So everything was outside the circle or maybe circle's edge, and I only hit a couple. I still ended up shooting really well because I was just throwing really clean drives and getting close to the basket on almost every drive, but I just wasn't hitting the putts that I needed. I could have easily shot like way better than my previous personal best had I hit some of those putts, but I still ended up, I believe, shooting a personal best at Timber Park the other day just by throwing clean lines. But yeah, for the most part, I feel like that's probably the latest breakthrough in my game, is just dialing in my putting form a little bit more. Orc O says, does anybody else cringe when someone says Trilogy? I'm sure some people do that, but I think it's a pretty fair term to describe 3 companies under one banner that's obviously manufactured at the same place. We all know that. We all know that Westside, Dynamic Discs, and Latitude 64 are all manufactured by Latitude 64 in Sweden, and then they're stamped up with different stamps. I mean, I feel like it's a pretty fair thing to represent that. They're not really hiding from it. They like to maintain their separation, but we, us as fans and disc golf throwers, all know, or most of us know, that they are all under one banner. So I feel like calling them the Trilogy is only fair, personally. But I'm sure people agree with you. There's no doubt. Chad Guyton says, if you had to play around with one disc, what would it be? Mine would likely be a Mako 3 or a Buzz. We talked about this on the last, probably both of the other ones. Probably be a mid-range if it's a kind of standard length course. If it's a short course, it would just be a putter for sure. And there's a good chance I might just go putter all the way. Just because I know I like to throw approaches and short drives with putters anyway, and I obviously like to putt inside the circle with my putter. So yeah, if it was a longer course, some type of mid-range, probably a compass. If it was a short course or a technical, like wooded course, it would definitely be a putter, probably a Jawbreaker Magnet. Coleman Kading says, how long have you been playing? So, let's see, probably 11 years, 10, 11 years, something along those lines. I'm not exactly sure. Pretty much since I moved to Oregon. Basinger's Disc Golf channel, shout out to you guys as well. Josh Basinger, they do disc reviews, and they're starting to do some tournament coverage, and they do fun videos. I really liked the video where they bought the starter pack, those garbage Franklin Walmart discs, and they went and played a challenge where they had to only throw those, and they're just so awful. Like the putter's like halfway decent, and everything else just completely worthless. That was hilarious, and they got a bunch of views on it. I totally think it was deserved, but shout out to you guys. He says, congrats on 4K, man. You definitely deserve it. I appreciate your support, man. Cheers. Keep doing what you're doing. Grim SOP says, if you could siphon the talents of any pro, living or not, like the Monstars did in Space Jam, who would it be and why? So, like, I'm taking the entire disc golf game of any pro. Have to be Ricky. I mean, 100%. He's my favorite player. His putting is insane. He's amazing forehand and backhand. He has sneaky distance. He has compact form that's extremely efficient and incredibly consistent in his game overall. I mean, there's just no question about it. There's other people that I might consider, like Simon or Jeremy Colling, Paul McBeth, of course, but if I had to pick one, I mean, why not my absolute favorite player, which is Rick. Mario Martinez asks, what's a better option for an intermediate woman for max distance? Lightweight trespass, max weight queen. Congratulations on the 4K. I would have to say a queen. Doesn't have, I mean, I don't know why it needs to be between those two things. It can be a slightly lighter weight queen as well. You know, a 165, 170 queen would probably be great. The rim's not too big, and it's a really, really straight flying disc with just a ton of glide. I really like the queen. The queen was very close to going in my bag. It still could be one that does eventually, for like huge turnovers and hyzer flip bombs and just like super smooth distance lines. I really liked it, actually, and it could end up in the bag. Yeah, I definitely could see myself throwing a queen in the future, but for an intermediate woman, which is a question, I would definitely recommend the queen. Trespass is great as well. Air trespass, great flyer, definitely more stable, but still a good flyer and gets good distance, but I think the queen is a little bit farther flying. It's got a smaller rim, it's got an extremely comfortable rim, and it's just a great disc. It gets easy distance. The Mr. Tasty, the Mr. T Nasty, it says, if I want a magical soft magnet, how long do I have to put it in the oven/car? Funny that you say that. This is gonna be so stupid. I can't believe I'm gonna tell you guys this. Let me make sure I'm still recording. Yeah, I'm good. So I have a soft magnet that I left in my buddy's trunk many years ago now. You've seen it on a million videos here. I've mentioned it tons of times. It is an orange soft magnet with a black stamp. It is my most sentimental disc for sure. I've left it at home for better part of the last couple of years just because I'm afraid to lose it because I really like it. I'm really close to putting it back in my bag, though, I will say, and it became magical. I didn't really care for it for whatever reason, and then I left it in the trunk of his car, and it got all warped and stuff, and there's like little indents on the top of the flight plate, and then I ended up putting it upside down on the countertop. I poured some hot water in it, and I kind of let it come back to shape a little bit, and ever since then, it's just been money. It's so nicely broken in, it just flies dead straight, and I love that thing. It's just a great flyer, and recently I took a max weight softie that I have that it's just a backup that I don't really intend on throwing anytime soon. And I did a test run. I tried to put it in the oven on a very low temperature for a little while to see if it would warp like that. And I was kind of messing around with it and seeing if I could get it to kind of break in a little bit and have that really nice rubbery feel to it. And it didn't really end up working. I believe that soft magnet was in the trunk of his car for the better part of a summer. And I actually have another one in my car now, but we park in the garage, so it hasn't gotten a lot of chance to heat up. I'm hoping that it might kind of soften up a little bit, because just like another, 3-chain stock soft magnet that I like, and I'm hoping to kind of break it in as a backup, because it's got a nice feel already. We'll see. That's a funny question. Thank you for that one. Brandon Lahan, first off, congrats on 4K, man. That's awesome. Thank you, Brandon. What do you think about putter-only rounds? Helpful or just a fun thing to do? Ooh, kick the mic. Helpful or just a fun thing to do? I'd say both. It's definitely helpful. I mean, if you club down to just a putter and you try to throw a whole round with it, you're going to learn a lot about your form, and you're going to learn about letting the disc do the work. Because to get a disc, to get a putter to fly like that, you need to let it do its thing. You need to throw it in such a way where it stands up and floats, and you let it fly. There's a certain degree with drivers where you can kind of just rip them, and they'll kind of naturally, kind of what I mentioned earlier, they'll naturally fly the route that they kind of want to based on their speed. But with putters, you really have to control them, and you have to let them fly. You can't overpower them. You need to learn how to throw them and match the throw and the power of the throw with the speed of the disc to maximize that distance and develop that touch. And I think that's a super beneficial thing to do. And it's also fun. Just one disc round. I think that's fun. It's not something I do too often, but it is fun. Larry Smith, congrats on 4K. Thank you. What's the best way to promote an upcoming event? How do you get people to register for your event? That's not one I could really help you with, man. Other than like the obvious stuff like Facebook events and sharing to Facebook groups for your area, and then flyers and stuff like that. Maybe flyers, or going and speaking to the local clubs, or any doubles leagues or anything like that you have out there, or putting up flyers, talking to the guys at your local pro shops if you have that availability. Just obvious stuff like that. I wouldn't really know what to tell you. That's not something I've ever really ever worked with. Yeah, I wish I could be of more help on that. I really wouldn't know what to tell you. It's not something I have experience with. Jamie Mendez, or it might be Jaime, what are your favorite courses to play? In terms of style of course, I tend to like, I like wooded golf quite a bit. It does get frustrating. It does get frustrating out there in the woods sometimes if you're just having a bad round, you're just clanging trees everywhere, it gets ridiculous. Or if you're throwing nice, clean lines and just getting bad breaks too, which does happen in the woods. I like elevation. I like technical shots that I need to pure a gap, because I find that more rewarding when you do that. But I like lots of different kind of courses, but I tend to like elevation. I love to float a putter mid-range down a hill. I like that quite a bit. I like variety. I don't necessarily like super long courses. I don't have a huge arm. I'm not a big fan of playing like long par fives where I have to do multiple run-ups in the fairway and stuff. I have no problem with a kind of a just par 3 style course. I also, I like longer courses as well. I'm going to play Milo coming up next week, and that sort of thing. It's all great. That's probably my favorite course overall, just for the blend, because it's got it all. It's got short, long, wooded, downhill, flat, all the different angles you need to throw, open shots, technical shots. I like a blend of different things. But in general, I like, one of my favorite courses is Horning's Hideout Canyon course. It's relatively short, but it's technical. You need to be able to hit lines really well. There's lots of elevation to navigate, which I think is fun. And you can't just throw big bombs out there, big hyzers. You gotta work lines and really shape shots, and I like that quite a bit. Steven Odiaga says, what is your favorite disc you have reviewed? That's an interesting question. Probably the Compass or the Trespass, two of my favorite discs. I have reviewed the Magnet and the Jawbreaker Magnet. They're up there as one of my favorites for sure. Yeah, I would say that, something that's in my bag for sure that I already throw and like. I've reviewed all of those, so that would probably be the most obvious answer. Angelic Alien says, what shoes do you recommend for disc golf? So, I wear New Balance hiking shoes. They're like hikers, trail running type shoes are great as well. You want something with a decent amount of treads, especially if you play in the woods. I like something a little bit higher up on my ankle for a little bit of extra ankle support. I have had ankle issues in the past with my right ankle from a soccer injury years ago. But for the most part, really whatever is fine, honestly. I mean, because you'll see Ricky out there just playing in like a pair of Nikes and totally fine, doing just fine with them. It doesn't have to be anything too rugged. I like Gore-Tex because I play out here in the Pacific Northwest, and I like to be able to step in some mud and stuff and not have to worry about my feet getting wet. Even in the summer, it's not that big of a deal for me. My feet get sweaty, but I don't have like this. I'm not like one of those guys that gets super sweaty feet in general, so it's not that big of a deal. It feels great after the round to take my shoes off and put my Crocs back on or whatever, especially in the summer. But yeah, I use New Balance hiking shoes that have Vibram treads. The Vibram outsoles I highly recommend. They're really, really durable and will last you a very long time, so I like that. But yeah, definitely look into trail, the kind of shoes you would wear to walk around in the woods already are going to do a good job for you on the disc golf course for the most part. If you play a lot of open park style golf where it's just a lot of grass and concrete tee pads and grass and stuff, you basically wear whatever you want, but I do recommend something that has good treads and some support. I don't necessarily. I've played rounds in like Adidas Sambas before, and they work fine for like park style golf. It's not that big of a deal, and sometimes I like the fact that I can pivot on my foot much easier with those smoother treads. So yeah, it's really kind of a personal preference thing. I definitely don't recommend playing in like flip flops and stuff like that by any means. So you definitely want to have some type of an athletic shoe, but other than that, you can really tailor it to where you play. So where am I at here? Let me take a look. I feel like this is getting pretty long. Yeah, I'm approaching an hour, so I'll do a couple more questions here. Let me take a quick water break. Justin L asks, what division should you play in for your first tournament, and at what point do you move up divisions? Thanks for all the videos. Well, another question I might not be the best equipped to answer. I would say for your first tournament ever, unless you've been playing for a long time and you're playing at a high level, or you consider to be playing at a relatively high level, I might think you just want to start at the lowest division and see what happens. If you blow it out and you win by 10, then you need to move up. I feel like, at what point do you move up divisions? I mean, it depends on what you want to get out of the tournament experience. If you want to win, I would start low and then kind of build your way up. If you're just beating everybody by 8-10 strokes, then you probably need to move up to play with better players. But if you're trying to just gain experience and just have fun and play with good players and learn stuff, you might want to just kind of jump ahead into a little bit larger division. Most of the time, a tournament director will be able to kind of talk to you a little bit and give you, you can tell them kind of your average score on a particular course or something like that, and they might be able to point you in the right direction. But yeah, I'm not like a TD or anything, so I wouldn't really know what to say. But it depends on your skill level, really. If I were to go start playing tournaments right now, I highly doubt I would start at the lowest division. I'd probably jump in somewhere in the middle and just see what happens. If I got destroyed, then that's what happened, and then I can adjust from there. But I feel like the only reason I would really want to play tournaments now is to have that more professional feel, to play with better players who are going to push me to play more consistently. And that is something that I am interested in and hope to do maybe next season a little more. But that's I guess it kind of depends on what you're trying to get out of it. All right, so let's do one more here. Yeah, I got a good one after that to lead off from my friend Anthony. Andy Klinger, final question for this episode. Thanks for coming along, everybody. 4K is a legit milestone. Great stuff. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. Where would you like to see Worlds in the future, local and or courses? Personally, I wouldn't mind if it rotated between Portland, Pittsburgh, and Charlotte only. Good choices. I'm going to say I would love to see it in Tahoe in 2019. Well, Portland Worlds was amazing. I'd love to have another World Championships out here in Portland. I think we would do it justice. I would like to see it cut down to just Milo and Blue Lake. That would be awesome. Do like first round at Milo, Blue Lake, third round at Milo on the other course, and then Blue Lake for the final round, just because we know the cell signal works there and it's very gallery friendly in terms of Portland courses, and the gallery for Portland Worlds was enormous, and that was years ago already. And I would love to see that happen again. I'd like to see one happen in Europe, although I wouldn't be super stoked if UC was the one running it, just because I'm not a huge fan of him and his whole style. But that would be cool. I think that should happen and probably will happen within the next 5 years or so. We'll see a World Championships take place outside of the United States. Charlotte, Pittsburgh, both great options. Seem like they've held great World Championships there. I'm really, really excited about the Green Mountain courses in Vermont for the Worlds next year. I think that's going to be epic. Those courses are amazing. There's lots of great places, and I do like the fact that it moves around. I think that's cool. The three that you mentioned, if it rotated between those, I wouldn't be too hurt up on that either. But there's lots of great places, and now that they're kind of shrinking it down to less courses, you only need like 2 good courses for the Pro Worlds. It can be lots of different places, and I'm all about it moving around. I don't know. Salt Lake City would be kind of cool. I have family down there. I could go stay with my uncle and watch that. That would be pretty cool. I don't know if the courses are totally up for it yet, but the Utah Open course is pretty rad. Seems nice, and they definitely have some other tracks down there that are pretty solid. It's hard to say, but I would definitely like to see one in outside of the U.S., though. I think that definitely needs to happen eventually, and I think it will. So, I'm going to let you guys go after that. It's been a long episode, but I had a lot of fun answering questions once again. Big thank you to everybody for your support. Remember, the Disc Golf Nerd Stamp custom discs are on the way, so if you guys would like to pick one up to help support me, I'd be honored to have a Disc Golf Nerd Stamp disc in your bag. Seems like folks are pretty happy with them so far. I've had some nice correspondence with people who bought them, sent me pictures of them in their bag and that sort of thing. That's super cool, and means a lot to me that you guys like my channel and like what I do enough to want to support me in that way. I'm excited to get a couple more in my bag as well, because I've been digging it. The anchor that I have in my bag is flying nice. I got a couple of really nice birdies with it already. That's it for this episode. Thanks so much for all your support. I'll check you guys very soon. All right, cheers.